Here we are. Yeah, the tape is rolling. The cameras are rolling. We're here.
We're here.
Doing a fucking podcast.
Doing a podcast. Dino.
What do we say now?
Hello. Hello, I guess. Hello, mate.
Welcome to the Actors Yard podcast with me, Dean Graham, and I am joined by my very good friend, my platonic life partner, Lucas Jones. How are you doing?
Oh, hey, brother. I'm really good, mate. I'm really good. I'm so honoured, man. Thank you so much for having me.
I could not have done this episode with anyone else, I don't think. It had to be, the first episode had to be with you.
Mate, it's been so beautiful, man. It's been so beautiful seeing just like the progression of Actors Yard and everything that's been.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah. It's been great. It's one of those things where you kind of make something for your friends and hope that it's going to be useful to people, and you know, it's just kind of gone from strength to strength, which is brilliant.
You feel that in the room big time. Like I think for anyone that goes, and I'm sure people listen to this will, a lot, in attendance. Like you can really feel there's like a really unique, palpable energy of a certain type of creative actor that enjoys that space. Yeah,
absolutely. I guess my first question is, obviously you've been coming to the Actors Yard and you're fairly regular there. What do you kind of get out of that room?
When I talk about,
I'm basically just looking for feedback. I'm just how do I improve this service? Yeah,
but it's a really interesting question. It's like I describe it to people as like an instinct class. Often it's like, well, that's a big part of why I take from it. It's like, because obviously, you turn up on the day. If anyone doesn't go, I suppose like might not notice it. You turn up on the day and you get the sides for the first time, like in the room, and you don't know what you're gonna get, and you do the ballot and. I think it's a really interesting experiment or exercise in like getting text and just going with your first instinct on it, and not actually I find anyway not trying to think too much about it, because obviously getting the lines down in like 30 minutes is one thing, and that's amazing in itself that you can do that, and learning that it's possible to do that. And I've noticed that carry on to my actual life, like in auditions,
super useful.
Oh my god, man, it's everything. And like, because as soon as you can get the words out of the way, as soon as you get the paper out of the way, because I really believe that you can't do anything with the paper in your hand. Yeah. You just can't really get anywhere.
I think that's what a lot of people's resilience as well is towards it. Like when we say to people, you're going to be off book in half an hour.
Yeah.
That the immediate kind of barrier that goes up, I think it's really understandable, because what they feel like is they're not going to be able to do their best work if they don't know the lines really well, which, in certain circumstances is true for sure. Like if we were going to put if you're going to put a show on, you need to know your lines, right? But in a rehearsal room, when you're just playing, when you're just experimenting, that I wouldn't say that that's the first thing that you need. I wouldn't. I'd say that to understand what the intention is better than understanding exactly the words that you're trying to say. If you know how to express that thing, then you'll be fine, right?
Yeah.
And also it just releasing yourself from the burden of having to know those lines in and out perfectly, dead letter perfect, really just allows you to play with your scene partner.
Yeah.
You get to be there with them and going like, and obviously when you first step over that threshold, it is intimidating and it is kind of scary and it does take a bit of courage. But once you are there with your scene partner and you're like, fuck it, man, like we're both here now, like we don't have paper, we're just gonna have to figure out what this scene is. That's like, and that's when really exciting things start to happen.
Yeah. It's also like, mate, I never thought this way till you said it just now, but like, it's also a major trust exercise with your scene partner, like big time. Because you're not like, they don't know the words either. Do you know what I mean? Like, and if they fuck up like one, can we swear on this? Is this?
Yeah,
sweet. Okay, just
absolutely.
fucking sweet.
100%.
We can get far if we want to. Or something. Like they don't know the fucking lines. So like, you have to just like the rhythm. Do you know what it is actually? The thing that I find really interesting is the rhythm thing. Because like you want to keep to a certain, like what I find really frustrating is when I can't remember the lines and I'm like fishing for lines, trying to search for lines. I find that really frustrating. Like, I'd rather like you encourage, I'd rather just like forget that then. Like if we're going this way, let's just go that way then. Rather than sort of stop and try and like get back to the script kind of thing. So that takes you out of it in such a way that it's also like, because it's a good reminder of what acting is actually, I think, if you know what I mean. Like what it is at its core, because it's not like being word perfect. It's not like necessarily some people say it's sacrilege. I was about to say it's not necessarily interpreting the writer's words as like verbatim. Yeah, that's kind of my own reference, I suppose. Yeah. Like I love to in work on sets, like do away with the script as quick as I can, kind of thing, if I can, and if I'm allowed to, without disrespecting the work.
That's it. I think it has to be an exchange. And like, I think, like Mamet writes about this thing of, I don't want to distill his entire book down because I do think it's really useful. Like, I don't want to distill his entire book down into one phrase, but he is just like, just say the words.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Say the words.
And like, that's fine. That's fine. I think he kind of underestimates how complicated his work actually is though,
Yeah.
I think it has to be a shared experience between an actor, between a writer and a director to pull that thing together. And the actor is important in that.
Yeah.
That the way that actor sees that character, the way that actor inhabits that character, or like any artist is going to make art through their own view of the world.
Yeah.
It's their lens, right? And I feel like by saying just say the words actor or like just say it like this actor, it's really taking away the autonomy and also like the value of that artistic perspective. You know what I mean? Actors are artists, and I think sometimes they're ashamed to say it, but we are.
Mate, 100. It's so interesting that we're ashamed to say that. Anyway,
Yeah.
I was thinking a lot of there's that Jack Nicholson quote about like, he says, I wouldn't. What did he say? Fuck, he said, I never would have got so far in my career if I wasn't a great writer. About being an actor. And I think there's something to be said for that. Like the best actors are also great writers. They're not on a page or on paper or on a laptop. In the moment, you're constantly writing for your character, I think, or and like even on one of my favorite experiences of shooting anything, first TV thing I did, the director was just like, I remember like sort of getting a little bit stressed. I wasn't sure what the dynamic was going to be in terms of like how close to the script to be sticking and stuff, and like how much freedom do I have? I don't want to like step on toes and that sort of thing. And like, I think I mentioned the script, and he was like, "Oh fuck the script!" He literally threw it away, like through the physical. He's like, "Fuck that, just do whatever." And I was like, "Oh, sweet!" And it was like such a fun. He was an actor director, and I feel like, do you know what I mean? And you're like, right, that makes sense.
It's also just such a dramatic thing to do.
Oh, it's so dramatic. Like just literally threw the script to the wall, and I was like, "Oh wait, okay."
Jack, start a fire. We're burning all the scripts.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, it's really interesting.
That's great. I want to work with that guy.
Mate, it was great. And it was great. It was great. It was so much
send him
freedom.
an email. Let's throw some scripts away together, bro.
Burn some scripts, brother.
Burn some scripts, bro. Man, good times. So, like, tell me about your experience so far of like, I mean, how much of the craft do you feel like you have the allowance to bring to the work that you've done so far?
Oh, that's a fucking amazing question.
That just came out of my mouth.
That's great.
I don't know what that is. I was like, this has come out of my mouth now, and I hope that Lucas understands what that means, because I'm not 100% sure yet.
No, I think I do, man. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Yeah. How much do you reckon?
Craft,
How much have you been able to in your career so far? Like, how much? I guess. Yeah, it's difficult when we say craft. Like, what is that?
But this is what I was about. This is what I find really interesting. And I've got a little bit of probably a chip on my shoulder by it because I'm not a trained actor.
Yeah.
And we spoke about it a lot, obviously. I'm come from that sort of thing of like instinct and rawness and like not trying to think too much about it on like an academic level and think about it more on a like almost biological level sort of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like quite earthy in the way I approach it. But like I think like this is something I grapple with. Like, what is my craft? Like, and it's something that I really enjoy about coming back to Judge is like I start to understand that what my craft might be, or I start to understand like what my craft might be, should I say? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that it's not the same craft necessarily as Helen Mirren. You know what I mean? Like it's not necessarily the same ins
She's
and
got
outs.
it pinned down.
She's got it down.
She's got a textbook going.
Bro, she's got the binary. Yeah, 100%. And I sort of scrap around. But I mean, like, when we're doing Gatsby, for example, like when you and I did Gatsby together, like, my favorite work I've ever done, genuinely, was that funeral scene, right?
Yeah.
And like, I remember the rehearsal process, that like the way that you and I, because I'd never rehearsed anything before. I'd done screen stuff, so I'd never really done rehearsal. I'd never been through a rehearsal process properly.
Yeah.
Not professionally. And I remember like one of the first times I sort of thought like, oh, this is that craft shit. It was when we were trying to find out what the heart of the scene was. And for context, and listening, it was like, my wife's died, and I'm confronting Tom, right?
Yeah, and I was sleeping with your wife before she died.
And I kind of know that.
Obviously before she died. Whole different play. Whole different play. Post-mortem.
The band version. They never.
I think F. Scott Fitzgerald missed a trick, personally.
Somewhere on a desk, somewhere in like some old like wooden desk, there's a draft of the script where Tom and Matt were having an affair after the car crash.
Jesus
but
Christ.
yeah. And I remember you being like, you were like, let's go, let's like get into it and just say the words. Like, it's not like it's not act it. Let's do the words. And do you remember this? We're in the dressing room.
Yeah.
And I'd never done shit like that before. I never like thought, oh yeah, let's just like have a conversation.
I do
let's have this. Let's do this in the conversation.
Really nice.
It was, and we learned so much, and we found that beat where there was like this moment where like I asked you a question, but I fucking actually asked the question, and that sounds so simple.
Yeah.
But I hadn't seen it that way before in a scene of like, I'm asking a question. What if I just asked the question? Like I don't know the answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think my craft's been like, to answer your question, I think my craft's been like, I've just been going through all these sort of different experiences of acting and picking up little bits and seeing other actors and seeing what feels right for me, what doesn't work for me. And also trying to work around like the logistical shit that you don't think about. Because like actors get so caught up in the emotional, like scene work stuff that like you might get, like for example, you get there, I did this job one time and like I hadn't factored in there's like 50 extras between me and the other actor. Yeah, so now getting through the scene, literally getting through the geography of the scene is a whole different challenge. And like, and I was quite new to it. I wasn't like brave enough yet to tell extras like, I need you to move out of the way when I get here and like direct the extras around me because no one else is going to come to do that. It's like, or not do that and use that as a, like a challenge within the scene. So that kind of stuff, like there's so much more to the craft of, I guess even like we're talking about film acting, TV acting to stage, it's like they're different jobs actually. Do you think that? Is that fair?
I do. I do think that they're different jobs. I think that they do have, I think at the core of both jobs is acting.
Right.
I think it's a bit of a leading question for me to say, how much of your craft have you brought? Because I think it's really difficult to pin down what craft really is. I know what it means to me, but I think it probably means different things to different people.
What does it mean to you? I'm really interested.
Like, craft, I think, in a nutshell, the way that I think about it is there's 3 techniques,
right.
2 techniques. Let's say 3. So there's stagecraft. It's really useful in the sense of if you're doing a scene, it's good that the audience can see you, right?
Right.
Like just down to the fundamentals, right? That stagecraft is like, I would walk this way rather than that way so that I can be seen. Mm-hmm. And then second is screencraft, which is technical in exactly the same way. Mm-hmm. If I look off here, there is another character there. If I look at this depth, it's going to say something different. If I look away this, all of those kind of like little looks. If I am in a close-up, I'm much less likely to be demonstrative than if I'm in a long shot. All of those things like are really useful technique to know. And then on top of that is voice. I think that it's one of those things also that really, I think recently, I think the best thing you get out of drama school is voice. I really do.
Yeah,
I think the amount of time that it takes to, like, I'm constantly trying to improve my voice now, even in my life. And I think that's one of the things that I'm grateful to like have Tay for, is that I do keep working on my voice on a regular basis with people, which is really lovely. And having that space to do that. But that's the best thing you get out of drama school, I think, is like, 1, it's time that you spend just playing, and 2, it's working on your voice.
I think I'd second that observationally from my point of view as well. Even though we did Gatsby, I remember a bit like noticing that, I was like, everyone's knows how to use their voice. And I don't.
Yeah.
I do as a singer, I suppose.
Yeah.
And actually, like, I learned so much. Like, I'd never. This is a thing that comes up a lot. Sort of criticism that comes up a lot of me and like screen work. Is that I love proper mumble actor, proper fucking mumblecore.
You are
like
super mumblecore.
Yes.
So I've seen some of the tapes, and it's like, I get that.
Yeah,
but you can't get away with that when you're doing theatre. And like the space that we were doing Gatsby was a really difficult space,
really
vocally.
Tricky, yeah. Once
people are in it as well, it's like it's not built to carry.
Yeah.
So you're just there, like.
Really? Yeah.
But like by Sunday, you are just.
Oh my god! And singing as well, and it was
of course.
Which is really, but like a really good challenge, and like I need to. I mean, you said something the other day when you I showed you something that I was in. Well, we watched something back that I was in, and you were like, when I turn that voice thing on, it really makes a difference. You really feel it.
Yeah.
And it's the first time I was like, oh yeah, actually I agree. Like this sort of mumbly thing, I think I've been hiding behind a bit. Do you know what I mean? I've been sort of like.
It's really interesting because obviously I've seen you doing your podcast and stuff, which we'll probably talk about a bit later. But the way that you use your voice in your podcast is really different to the way that you use your voice in a tape.
That's interesting.
Which is really
interesting.
And I think it's probably something to do with having the cans, like being able to hear your own voice and feel the depth of your own voice like immediately.
Yeah.
I think it's probably really useful.
That is really interesting.
I wonder what it'd be like if you did a tape with cans on, like if you had heads up.
But I also think like the thing I've always justified it was like if it's a character choice. I'm always like, oh no, like because fucking is like working class like guy, and he's like he works in industrial trades, like kind of that kind of shit, and like that's actually not how people speak. Like like in the world, I'm not sure where I think it might be actually a shy thing that I've incorporated into it in a sense to some degree.
I think a lot of actors carry this misconception that like, and I think this is probably going to offend people, but when people say,
it's always good
that's good stuff. When people say, "Oh, screen acting's smaller,"
right,
people really back that. Like people really back the idea that screen acting is fundamentally smaller, which I think is vastly untrue. Actually,
right.
I actually do. I think you can get away with a lot more on screen than people think.
I think so. I think so too. Actually,
and I think it does vary on the size of the shot, like by a long way. You're bigger in a mid than you are in a close-up. You're bigger in a long than you are in a mid. You just are. And you have those allowances to be able to do that. So understanding, I think, your relationship to the frame is a really useful thing.
Yeah.
And I think that people do make a mistake of like being super quiet in a mid. Being and it just won't get you.
Yeah, it's fun. That's a really interesting like thought experiment. Like, because it depends what world you're in as well. You know what I mean? Like I think that's what the actor's job is. I think also what the director and the actor's communication has to be based around in its entirety. In my experience, is like just let me know what I'm in. Like let me know what I'm in terms of like where let me know where the edges are. Like I think that's the only way you can kind of go wrong, or the only way like. I don't want to say like bad directing. That's such a like, but I think that's a sign of like bad directing. I think is when the actors don't know what world they're in. Because like, if actors are on their shit and they're actors, they'll adapt to whatever. Yeah. People are like, oh, by the way, we're in you're in space, by the way. It's like, oh, we're in space. Okay, cool. Right. In that case, that changed everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, so there's a certain level of like responsibility, I think, and duty that a director has to be like, to make sure everyone knows exactly what the world is. And I think that's informed by those choices. Like that, like, when you see, I can't think of a good example right now, but like certain films where there's like a day, not even a day play, like a sort of a smaller part that's just in a completely different film to the rest of the characters. Like, did you see Nope? The Daniel Kaluuya?
Yeah.
What do you think?
I really liked it.
Right,
I mean, nothing's Get Out for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, I enjoyed Us. I enjoyed Nope probably a little bit more than Us.
Right, yeah.
But nothing's Get Out for me.
Yeah,
like I enjoyed it. I was like, I'm having a good time. Yeah. Daniel Kaluuya's great, obviously.
Of course, and like all the acting in that film were great. All the work going on. But I felt that Daniel Kaluuya and Keke Palmer were in different films. Like I felt like no one told them to. No one like, made that cohesion between the films they're in.
Yeah.
Because like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's maybe a bit of a
yeah. I mean, Daniel Kaluuya's playing an incredibly like muted
kind of.
He's playing a cowboy, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. And and I just felt like, and it wasn't even necessarily like it was almost like they're in different fonts and not in the. I can't explain exactly.
I kind of know what you mean.
What I mean? Like,
I know what you mean.
Maybe it's a bit of an unfair example, but
I think it's probably easier to draw the distinction in comedy. Probably when you see a comedy like In Bruges, you like they're not big, loud performances. They're like quiet and subtle and real and fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
But and they're not like goofball. Like it's not Step Brothers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, the difference, I guess, like buddy comedies between In Bruges and Step Brothers, very different film. So like, I don't know who. I mean, who directed Step Brothers? Was it like,
that's a good question.
It's like Todd Phillips or someone.
Probably.
You reckon
He's done it all,
Todd's,
right?
yeah,
Todd's up in there. Todd's all up.
Did Martin McDonagh direct In Bruges?
He wrote it, I think.
I know he wrote it.
I think Banshees is his first direction. I think it's the first time he directed, right?
No, he directed.
He did Three Billboards. Oh my god, I'm talking about. It's one of my favorite films
ever. I feel
ever.
like he did something before that.
That film is one of my favorite exchanges of one of my favorite transfers of power in a scene I've ever seen.
Which one?
Three Billboards. Yeah, you know that scene in the spoiler if anyone's seen it, but that scene in the police station when she's being like interrogated by Woody Harrelson's character, and then he coughs blood, and suddenly she's like, "Baby, you okay?" Or whatever she says, she's like, I know, baby. Like, where suddenly the complete immediate mid scene just flips perfect.
I think that movie is amazing.
I think it's my favorite film ever.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Banshees. Tell me, did you see Banshees?
I missed it, man. I missed it. I'm really gutted. I really want to see it. What do you think?
I loved Banshees, right? And I think it's a much more mature film.
Yeah, right.
Than Three Billboards. But I'm not particularly mature, so I had a really good time. I think the performances are amazing. I think the script's amazing. Like it's great. But I just think Three Billboards is just fucking balls to wall, fucking brilliant.
Yeah, I'm just a Sam Rockwell geek
yeah,
as well.
Rockwell
So, like Rockwell
all
can do
day
anything.
long.
Yeah, all day.
Fuck.
Like Rockwell, he's one of the most consistent actors in what he does. Like,
I also think, I mean, yeah, Frances McDormand is just. I want to see her in everything. Like, I just want to see her do like every movie, and just that pairing is fucking amazing.
It's just, the thing with Frances, you can't see Frances' work anywhere. Like in terms of like what she's doing, and like you can't see where the work is.
I feel like I've said that a lot about Olivia Colman.
Well, we've had conversations. She's the best actor in the world.
She is the best actor in the world.
Olivia Colman is the best actor in the world. I almost won't hear 2 words about it.
It was silly. There was that when like she didn't get nominated for what was that movie that she did with Maggie Gyllenhaal?
Oh no. Oh yeah. Wait.
What was that called?
I'm thinking of the daughter. I'm thinking that's the wrong one, right?
Yeah. This is a girl running around with the doll.
Was that Maggie?
That was Maggie Gyllenhaal directed it, right?
Oh yeah, sorry. I knew it was Dakota Johnson that was in it.
Yeah.
That was called The Daughter, right? No.
God, maybe
I
it
don't know. I
was.
feel like I'm making that up.
Anyway, like I was like, oh my god, just forgotten this incredibly
Brighton.
important film. But yeah, she just like didn't get nominated that year for anything. And we had this conversation where it was like, it's because she would win all of the things.
She's the best.
If you put her in the category, there's just no point having the competition.
It's not fair
Because there's nobody else that is. I really believe that, which is like completely insane to say about an actor. That they're the best in the world, by an extraordinarily long way.
Why do you think she's the best in the world?
I think that she's playing a different game.
Oh wow!
I think that she is. I think that she's doing it. She's like, you know, she's reinvented chess.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah. I actually agree.
It's a completely different system. She's like, there's nobody that's as there and as inhabitant. I think. She just lets everything. There's
no pretense, but like
it's almost as if she's a robot or something. Like she's, do you know what I mean? Like that she doesn't exist in real life.
Yeah.
That she just exists there.
Yeah, I know exactly.
But she does. She's she seems to have a really warm personality.
What is it? Like what's funny about her is that like she's not a character actor either, though. I don't think. Right?
Interesting.
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say she's like doing the Day-Lewis shit or the like where she's like transforming either.
No, I agree.
Do you know what I mean? Like she's like she's which is even more impressive because she's not hiding. Like because Day-Lewis can like just completely be gone. Where you're like, I don't know where he is anymore. Whereas she's like she's still it's still Olivia Colman.
Yeah.
Like style of acting. But it's the best you've ever seen.
It was I just there were moments when I was watching that movie of the name of which I can't remember.
Yeah.
But
Lost Daughter.
Lost Daughter, yes, thank you, well done. There was moments when I was watching that one, I felt so deeply uncomfortable in a way that like I could only feel that way because I really felt what that character was going through at that time, and the behavior that character was exuding. I think.
Yeah.
So, and there's very few things that do that to me, and I don't think it was the best film ever. I don't.
No,
but I thought that she was just. Like it would have meant nothing if she wasn't in it, I think, which is really harsh to say about Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah, she's great, Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. Maggie's great. She's good.
Maggie's great. Maggie.
Maggie or Jake. If you could only ever see one film by Maggie or Jake,
it's gonna be Jake.
It's gotta be
like there's no disrespect to Maggie. There's no disrespect to Maggie, but Jake Gyllenhaal was. It's funny. He's in an interesting niche in the industry in a way, in terms of like where he is because. We spoke about it yesterday in a way, like not in these terms, but I almost wonder, like, because he's so handsome, I almost wonder if it takes away from actually some of the work he's doing. Like, he's one of the. I know everyone knows him as an actor. You know, he's nominated for Oscars and so on and so forth. But like, you don't really hear his name get brought up in the same way as like, in the same vein as as a Day-Lewis and so on and so forth. But he's done some work, man. Gyllenhaal's done some amazing work.
I'd argue that he's had one of the best careers of all time.
Yeah, I'd agree.
The amount of stuff that he's been able to do. The amount he's like been given, like how much he's managed to stretch it.
Yeah. What's that Tom Ford film called? Nocturnal Animals.
Nocturnal.
It's like a masterpiece.
Also, Tom Ford. Where's he coming from?
What's he
it's just he's one of the most powerful men in the world. He's a magician. Yeah, he's an absolute magician.
He's a dangerous man.
Yeah. Let's not get into the entire biography of Tom Ford, but I have a whole.
Yeah,
I have a thing about Tom Ford. Yeah, I think he's just a genius.
I don't know much about him. Like I know from you.
Yeah. But he sort of turned Gucci into what it is today, and then went off, made his own fashion label, and then all of a sudden, He's an incredible director.
Of course he is. Like things that just tracks. It's like a man that well put together. Of course he's a fucking great director.
Yeah,
dude.
yeah. I don't know what he looks like. I wouldn't know.
Really?
I wouldn't know what he looks like in the street.
He looks. I bet. Right.
I bet he's really well dressed. Though.
He looks exactly as you imagine. Like whatever. Like think of the man. Picture the man. He's the man.
Yeah, he's that man. He's that man. I imagine him being like 6'3".
Yep.
In a suit, like mid-length golden hair.
Oh, really? Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, clear frames. Has no need for glasses, but he's wearing some like $5,000 clear frames.
That's really. You know what, he's more like your traditional idea of a '60s man. He's more like that. He's more like this. Like he's James Bond. He's more like James Bond.
Right.
I think from what I've seen of him.
Right.
With a little more effeminate. You know what I mean? A little touch of him. Yeah.
I don't know what I'd do if I did meet him.
What could you do?
Your films are really great.
Hey, Mr. Ford.
I like your films, Mr. Ford.
Mr. Ford, can I shake your hand?
Yeah. No, I wouldn't know. So tell us about your podcast.
Oh, mate. Thanks,
that was a really interesting avenue because it's got absolute sort of fundamentally has nothing to do with your acting career.
Yeah. It's been really interesting. Like it was really came back from conversations with my business partner, Sean, and like close friend, where we're like on the phone for years. We'd always be like, oh, man, we should record these conversations because they're so like, I feel like we're uncovering so much and sort of like self-therapizing or just like pulling at the fabric of reality so consistently. We should record these. And then like, it actually happened at perfect time. It was like the end of 2020 and that year was obviously just a fucking mess.
Yeah.
This year's been weird as well, to be fair, but like that year was it's been a weird year so far.
We'll get into that.
But yeah, it's
strange
been very strange. Yeah, it seems quite universal as well. But anyway, and like this was just after Gatsby had finished, and I was like living alone in London, like having a bit of a mental health crisis, and just like really like it'd been a lot, and like at the perfect time, Sean just suggested that we start a podcast. In fact, he didn't even suggest it; he just like we're doing this, and I was like, I'm in. I need a purpose. And the first episode called Purpose, probably subconsciously for that reason, because I needed something that was like one a bit about autonomy and like it brought back a sense of like I own a thing. So I suppose as actors, you don't the constant sort of like screaming into the void of wanting and not having too much autonomy and being able to get stuff made and done. It feels that way anyway. It's not always true, but it feels that way. So having just like the idea of starting a thing that we owned as a platform was like really, really attractive, super attractive. And then like, yeah, man, like it's just gone crazy in the last year. It's gone crazy. Like we've got like 15 million views in total across socials now. I think it's a bit more than that. Like 30,000 downloads. Like, and people like listen to it now. Some like people, it's a place that people go to now for like comfort, I suppose. And it's I'm so great. I mean, even like, you know, we walked in here today and that, like we just had a beautiful moment the first time ever. Walked into the building today and someone's like, "Oh, by the way, I love your work." And I was all confused. I was like, "What do you mean?"
Nice.
She's like, I follow you guys." And I was like, "Oh, fucking sweet, the podcast." That's like, it's super nice, man.
And do you feel like one supports the other? Being, you know, having a podcast that's completely outside of what you do as an actor. Do you think that one supports the other?
100%.
Yeah.
In really specific ways as well. Like really like sort of like unexpected ways. Like partly the voice thing you said. Mm-hmm. That's definitely been, I've noticed that, like just communicating clearer.
Yeah.
Something about like talking to people. I've noticed in audition rooms, this is really interesting. I've noticed like walking into an audition room feels less intimidating. And I think it's because much of what used to stress me out about auditions was the social aspect of like doing getting into the room. Like not even the work bit. If I could walk in, do the work and leave, fine. It's the bit where like you have to sort of be on and be like, you feel like you have to come across sort of charmingly or like talk nicely to the person on the desk even though you're nervous and all that kind of all that other shit. There's just like getting like buzzing the door. You know what I mean? All the stuff that like you don't have to think about, like the little like micro finding the building, finding the right room in the building and all that shit. Something about doing the podcast has made that process feel a lot easier because I'm now just like way more comfortable just speaking to people.
Yeah.
I can feel like I can just talk to people a lot more organically and that's been really interesting.
That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, also like it's kind of half the battle, isn't it? It's like
my
you get
God,
in
big
there
time.
and it's like, oh, here's a really fun, sociable person that we can see ourselves working
Yeah,
with.
100%.
And then, you know, you go in and you're a terrible actor. And then what a letdown.
That's such a shame because he's so charming and personable.
Should we give him the job?
And he found the door so easily as well. He buzzed in so nicely.
That was the best door buzzing we have ever heard at this studio.
Had real high hopes, though. But yeah, and then also I think on a sort of networking way, obviously like people seeing the podcast and it actually like boosting my own profile a little bit. That's obviously useful in a sort of business way.
Yeah.
And even like, you know, a couple of directors follow me from listening to podcasts just incidentally, like they didn't, you know, there was no like network intention. But I think the best way for people to discover you is organic like that. So if someone happens to find you, think, oh, he's an actor, that's cool. So there's like a few directors I know now, or like creative people in that world. So yeah, it's just been. But more than anything, I think it's a mindset thing. It's like it's a liberation of an ownership thing, rather than feeling like I'm waiting for an email every fucking day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think also like we've talked about that kind of the reticence to merge those two worlds because you don't want to be seen as a podcast host when you're really an actor.
Oh my God!
And what are the concerns there? And I think it's like there's some validity to that for sure.
That's a really good question. I think like, I've got a whole theory on this because I think like much of what definitely I find attractive, and maybe you'd feel the same way, is there's something really sexy about that like kind of mysterious actor of the like, oh man, you know, like the 70s, 80s, like De Niro kind of, or even like Joaquin now actually.
Yeah.
There's like a certain like mysterious thing of like, they don't exist anywhere other than on screen.
Yeah.
And that's the only, like they have no social media presence. They have no like, like they're like a rare bird that comes out once a year. And you're like, oh my God, this new release. It's like almost like spiritual. Whereas like actually, and I think that's really attractive. And I think a lot of actors try and emulate that in the way they use social media and use Instagram and like will sort of post vague, non-self-marketing things in a sort of like cool way. And I'm one of those people as well. I think I've been. But something I've been thinking about lately, and I kind of have like a new perspective on it. I think this is the new thing that will be cool. And like, if you know what I mean, like actors having a bunch of different strings to their bow, like you having a podcast, like I have a podcast, like this being a multi-dimensional creative, multidisciplinary creative that like, I think it's this new scene that's forming, this new form of creative that hasn't existed before, and it's like an internet thing, part of it. You can, or a laptop thing, like with the laptop generation. So like we can edit shit. Like I just edited a whole short film on my laptop. You know what I mean? Like you can do that 20, 30 years ago.
I think it's really interesting because also I think you're right that you can cultivate that aloofness using social media. I think there is a capacity to do that, but you can't as a podcast host.
For sure,
You are there. You are you are personable and you're communicating effectively. We don't imagine that Joaquin Phoenix communicates effectively
Do you know what I mean?
in a social situation. I mean, we've seen so much footage of him looking like he just does not want to fucking be there.
Did you see that recent one? That one came out. He was filming Joker, the first Joker. He's on a panel thing, like a Q&A thing, and it's with Gyllenhaal actually. Funny enough, Gyllenhaal. It's that Sisters Brothers film, I think. I'm guessing. Was Gyllenhaal in that?
I don't know. I didn't watch it.
Yeah, me neither. But there was a film he did with Gyllenhaal. Anyway, so he's at this like, I think it's like Cannes or somewhere. And like all the actors lined up, and he's like all up in his Arthur Fleck shit, and he's like just looks fucking uncomfortable and like being weird. He's all super skinny and he's all like not there. And I was like, he's paying the price for that shit though. You know what I mean?
I really wonder what it is like to have a beer with Joaquin Phoenix.
I mean, there's one. Oh, sorry. There's let's destroy the whole set. There's a really good. There's one podcast in this with his sisters. That's really interesting because it's him like completely as he is, I think. Because with his sisters.
What he's like? Just like him and Casey Affleck. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just hanging out.
Just hanging out. I bet he's nuts.
Do you think?
Do you think he's not?
I don't know.
Yeah,
that's the thing. It's like because he has really cultivated this sense of being completely aloof.
Yeah.
And being completely asocial in a way.
Yeah. Asocial is fucking.
But I kind of feel like when he's with Casey, maybe he's just like chills out and has a laugh.
He's silly with his sisters. Like, he's super silly with his sisters. He's funny as well, and he's like quick. But like, I think he's very guarded. But also, I think his brother died publicly when he was like, how old was he? He was like,
I don't
15,
know.
Because River was like 23 or something. I don't know. But anyway,
young guy. That must have been like what 90s. It must have been 90s.
I mean, and that's a situation where like his fucking, like the 911 call that he made is like it's on YouTube. Do you know what I mean? You can like
that's fucked.
Yeah, it's fucked. It's crazy. It's crazy. You can listen to. I have heard it to my shame.
Yeah.
Like and that would make you go inside in a way that nothing else will. So I kind of get it.
I can't imagine it. That kind of pain. That must be so much. To what extent do you think that personal trauma is useful in the work?
That is the question, I think. I think that's the question. Like, because it's funny, actually, I was having a conversation, funny enough, with a psychotherapist recently, who's also an acting agent. And we were talking about how I was saying, I kind of have this theory that I think actually all of being an actor might be a trauma response. Like maybe all of it. Like, maybe I'm thinking for myself, but like there's something very unique, very specific about someone who their biggest desire in the world is to be other people as much as they possibly can. You know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
and I don't mean to be reductive or romantic about it either, because it's like, that sounds kind of sexy. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't mean it in that way, but like, because I feel like, and I'd love to know you feel better, because I remember being like 4 and 5 and acting being like, in any form of acting, whether it's playing on the playground with friends, putting on little shows with people, like being in a school play.
Yeah.
That was when I felt like I'm in. And that's never gone away. I feel the best I've ever felt on set, or like when I'm on a day on set. And it doesn't even have to be a big day. I can be coming in for a day play, a one-line thing. I feel good for a couple of weeks, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm gonna come down the next day for sure. From the excitement, I am.
Oh right, yeah.
I'm
yeah,
on a bad day the next day, guaranteed.
Yeah, that second is dirty.
Yeah.
But like in general, like it's the place where I feel the most complete. And I think like in the sort of things I'm attracted to, it definitely is. Like, I'm very aware of the exercising of trauma.
Yeah.
But Gatsby was a good example of this, because like I remember there being a day, right, where we were doing that funeral scene that I mentioned earlier, and like I wasn't quite feeling it, and we weren't quite like locked in yet. It was like early doors, and I remember being like, let me like use some stuff, let me like pull some shit from my life in this and try and like get into it, and being like, okay, so my wife's died. What does that feel like? What's that feel like? What's that like? Bringing in real stuff and real people and real, you know. Yeah. And I remember literally feeling like a snap almost at the end of that day that I didn't come back up from like for like 2 months. Like, I remember feeling like I didn't get back up out of that depth for like a minute. Yeah. And it was a really good lesson. I was like, okay, cool. I can't do that again. I can't, like, using real shit does bleed in, actually. I don't think it's safe. Or maybe but I don't have the education on where the boundaries are, because I didn't do the drama school. So maybe did they do that stuff in drama school? Like,
I think it depends where you go. I think it really does depend where you go. I think a lot of people are, you know, emotion memory all the way. You know, like they want to drag those fucking demons out of you, you know? And I don't think in a particularly safe way a lot of the times. For me, I actually don't think it's useful. I think I think that actually you have more, I think what is useful is empathy. Having a really acute sense of empathy, I think, is much more useful to you, because one, you can get some distance from it, and you can still operate in all the other ways that you need to operate in terms of technique, in terms of where do I need to stand, without being completely immersed in this entire experience, you know, in this painful experience. Yeah. And I think that there is actually, when you process somebody else's grief or elation, it feels good for you as an actor, because you have distance from it. I think because there is always, I think, you know when actors are like, they're getting really upset and they go through that whole thing, there is a sense of kind of what's the word? Completion, I think. You get that there is a thrill, there is a buzz to experiencing somebody else's pain or experiencing somebody else's joy, I think, that has to be removed from you in order to be enjoyed, I think. I don't think you can't, because you don't enjoy the bit where you go, I'm thinking about the death of this person in my family. There's no joy to that. There's no joy to, like, and it doesn't, and I think some people would argue that it's cathartic in some way, but acting isn't supposed to be therapy. I don't.
Yeah, I think you're right. I actually think that's kind of blown my mind a bit, because like you can probably actually track quite neatly actors who are trauma actors and actors who are empathy actors. Yeah. And if you look at, like, say someone, I don't know, Shia LaBeouf, major trauma actor, just like living out his real shit in his characters, and he's in a terrible place. You know what I mean? Like what right now. But like, I don't. How do you if you do a play? Yeah. If you've got a play with like a, you know, if you sign on for 9 months or something, when I play, or even just like 6 weeks or 3 months or whatever, you've got to do that every day. Yeah, it's nuts. You're going to relive that trauma every single day for the next, you know, with one day off. Yeah. For the next 6 weeks, for the next 3 months. So dangerous. I think it's crazy to do that. I think it's really healthy. You have to find a way of distancing yourself from the world. And when I was in, you know, drama school, I also experimented with using my own trauma and things like that. And I'd say that I'm and, you know, having been through, you know, we've obviously spoken about therapy and those sorts of things. And having been through a lot of therapy, you know, over the last sort of decade or so, I'd say that I'm a better actor now that I'm more stable. Yeah, than I was before. Oh, it's so healthy people to hear that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think actually what I've cultivated alongside that is an acute sense of empathy, which I also think you shouldn't be active all the time. I think you need to take time for you, like 100%. I think there is a time where you can more effectively empathize with other people, and like using that in your work and obviously using that in your life is really useful. But like you can't forget about you. You need to recharge. I do anyway.
Yeah.
I need to find time to be selfish. And I think, that's one thing that I think that a lot of people that would say that they have a heightened sense of empathy will never really allow themselves that time to just be like, what do I need right now? Going off on a bit of a tangent there, but that's kind of the way that I feel
really,
about it.
Mate, it's really interesting. I think you've just sort of uncovered a whole new way of thinking about it. Because I remember, like, not to keep talking about the same example, but like during that, when I Gatsby, like I remember thinking, like coming back after, do you remember that little break during the lockdowns and stuff?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I remember like in that period, coming back and being like, I'm just gonna act now. I'm not gonna do that thing. I'm not gonna do that thing.
Yeah.
I got sick. You know what I mean? Like it fucked me up. I'm just enjoying it and actually doing better work. I think.
Yeah.
Doing better work in those last couple of weeks. I was like, I'm acting. I'm essentially pretending, not to minimize it, but
sure.
I'm pretending. I'm not going to actually go out and cry every night. I'm going to go out and act. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah.
I mean, you do, and I think that when you do also go out and you put yourself through that pain or whatever, I think you do need to find a way of letting that go as well. Because there is a real tendency, I think, to carry those things with you after the show's finished. After you leave the set, there's a real tendency to carry those horrible things with you. And which is one of the reasons why I think that there's so many people in our industry drink a lot or take a lot of drugs. Because they're trying to get rid of or process that trauma that they felt and kind of come down from that or move away from that. And for me, what was really great on Gatsby was that like after every single show, you and I'd have a hug.
Oh my God.
Because that was like the apex of the show was where like, I love your wife. She's dead. You love your wife. She's dead. We're discovering this thing happening between us. I'm starting to see in your eyes that that you think it's my fault. And all of that shit's going on. And that was hard. Like that
really
was
tough,
like for those characters and for us to, put our bodies through that. And so the end of every show, seeing you in the dressing room and having a hug with
melting,
you. Just melting, literally just allowing our bodies to just release and relax that thing.
And with so much gratitude as well, that's the other thing. We kept saying, we're like, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful, I'm so grateful. You know what I mean? I think gratitude is the healer of that sort of maybe like leaning towards toxicity type feeling of like carrying that pain, because you could just like, you remember that you're grateful to, I don't know. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
I do. And I was mostly grateful for you, I think.
I think that's what I mean. Like, it's like in that moment, it's like, because, oh man, it's such like, you're in such a vulnerable position in a way.
Yeah.
When like, and it's like, you might get one of these like once every 50 shows or something, right? Where like, most of the time you're walking the line, right? And like you sort of falling off and get back on, and like, and if you do that where it's like 51% of the time you're on, it's a good show. You know what I mean? Like 100%. Like something like that.
Absolutely.
And there's some shows where and never for the whole show, but for key moments, you're like on the line 100%. And we had a couple where we got to the dressing room, we were like, whoa.
There's nothing like it.
There's nothing like it. But what I do wonder is, I wonder how much that translates to the audience. Because I wonder how much of that is not one fucking bit. They don't give a shit.
Not a bean, bro. Nothing.
It's really, there's that Hank Azaria thing I think I sent you ages ago where he's talking about like kind of trauma and bringing it, and like in the day-to-day, like in reality. And he's saying like, sometimes his dad died when he was a kid or something like that, right? I think. And he's saying like, when sometimes I'll tell the story of my dad dying to a friend, and I'll be really emotional, I'll be crying, I'll be like in pain, and sometimes I'll tell that story and I'll be fine because I've said it 50,000 times. I'm just sort of saying real enough information, I'm fine. Yeah. And like, and the example he was using is that to the audience, like they actually don't really care what you're feeling necessarily. They don't care whether it's really sad to you, because the information that you're explaining, if you believe it and you say it honestly, will translate regardless in a way.
Yeah.
It's really fucking of course. You're like, you don't have to be like floods of tears in pain, like, oh, look at my pain. Like, if what's happening is true, it will translate the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think anyway.
I think a lot of actors have kind of have echoed that kind of sentiment. I don't know who, I can't ascribe it to any one actor, but I'm sure I've heard several actors say, no one wants you to have a feeling at them.
That's great.
Which I think is really true.
That's great. It's true.
Nobody does.
They
It's like,
don't.
and you see it when, especially like younger actors who are just kind of feeling out where they, where the craft sits in them, I think. And we've all done it. We've all done it. Like
100%.
tried to have a cry.
Oh, big time.
Well, I'm going to try and cry at this room of people.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. And no one wants that. Everyone's going, fucking hell.
And they can't even tell most of the time. That's the thing. They can't tell. They can't even see it most of the time. It's like, especially stage.
I know. Jesus
It's
Christ.
really funny.
We're getting sort of towards the end.
Oh, wow. Oh, mate.
I know this is absolutely flown by.
Oh, my God.
I feel like maybe we've got about 10 more minutes.
Okay, sweet.
So maybe we should talk about what I was saying to you the other day about wrapping up this podcast. And I was saying that I wanted to have some kind of segment that would exist at the end of every podcast, right? And then you mentioned the James Lipton in the actor's studio.
Yeah.
So I did a little bit of research into this. And what I found out was, first of all, I didn't know this, that James Lipton's 10-question questionnaire that exists at the end of Inside the Actor's Studio, it actually wasn't his idea. And so he ascribed it to, let me just unlock my laptop very quickly, Bernard Pivot.
Oh, yeah.
So Bernard Pivot, he
that.
had his own questionnaire on his show, which was called Apostrophes, I think, from the 70s. And so their questionnaire, their 10-question questionnaire, is almost identical. It's like there's similarity. The majoritively similar. Lipton's got a few. He's changed a few for his own thing. But Pivot's one was based on one that Prouse did back in whenever Prouse was doing the thing, like, I don't know, 1896 or something like that. So there's like the Prouse questionnaire, and then there's a Pivot questionnaire, and then there's the Lipton questionnaire.
What beautiful lineage.
Yeah, isn't that great? So I feel like I'm going to call this segment the Prouse Pivot Lipton questionnaire.
Sick.
So that's what it's going to be. So are you ready, Lucas?
I'm ready. I'm actually nervous.
Prouse Pivot Lipton
I'm ready.
questionnaire.
Nervous.
Question 1. What's your favourite word? Stole this one from Lipton and Pivot.
What's my favourite word? Bubble.
Bubble.
Just phonetically.
Bubble.
Bubble.
Very nice.
Bubble.
Very nice. What sound do you love?
My sister laughing.
Oh, lovely. What sound do you hate?
Crying from, when someone's crying from that place of like, you hear it in the street sometimes at night. It sounds really specific, but there's a certain like guttural, like animalistic, like cry for help sound. It's not usually someone crying for help, usually some weird argument or something, but it's like that very primal sense of someone like in the most danger in terms of their, at least like the context, how they feel emotionally. That sound.
Is it kind of like an inebriated?
Yeah, like drunk people having an argument and they'll be like a scream at someone, but like you hear it and like you'll be at home and be quiet and suddenly that sound will startle you. That is my least favorite sound in the world.
Yeah, I can understand that. What's your favorite curse word?
Cunt.
Cunt.
It's fucking great. If you drop the T and it's like, you cunt.
One of my biggest regrets was I was doing a sixth form show. It was Our Country's Good, Timberlake, White and Bacon. And my character, I was playing John Wisehammer, and he has a speech at the beginning of the play where it refers to English cunt. And obviously, because I was doing it in like a C of E high school, I got told, not my drama teacher didn't want me to change it, but got told by the head that I had to take cunt out of the speech. And one of my biggest regrets is I did. I took it out.
I took it out.
I think it got replaced with flesh or something like that. And I just felt a bit dirty.
Yeah.
I felt a bit dirty as much as I was earlier saying fuck the words and just like,
yeah.
Like I do think that when you do a show and you put one together, honoring the text is really important, especially if it's something like that show is literature. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like I wouldn't change the words of, I don't know, Like
Aaron Sorkin. I wouldn't change one word of Sorkin's.
Well, he's fixed it. He's done it.
He's already done it. Yeah, he's thought about it more than I have.
Who am I thinking? The most famous American playwright of all time?
Tennessee Williams.
I wouldn't change any Tennessee. Not a chance. Who wrote, View from the Bridge, Death of a Salesman? Arthur Miller.
Arthur Miller.
Jesus Christ. Embarrassing that his name just fell off my head. Yeah, I wouldn't change Miller. I would never.
Yeah, right.
I mean?
But then that's when it's like, if you're that good though, if you're that good, you know what I mean? Like as a writer, like yeah.
Anyway, right, great. Next question. What's your favorite quality in another human being? This is one of mine.
Oh, great.
Oh no, wait, no. This is actually one of Proust's.
One of those. Okay,
this one of Proust's.
My favorite quality in another person. Let me really think about it for a second.
These are big questions.
Yeah, they're the biggest. It's amazing. It's amazing.
We're not even halfway through.
Okay.
No, you're fine. Don't rush. You got time.
Speed run it.
Time. But seriously though, what is your favorite quality in another human being?
Empathy. If we're going to be broad about empathy. Someone who's a genuine, deep capacity for true empathy, of really feeling when you tell them something and you see it in their eyes that they're there with you. I mean, that's the most beautiful thing. Because there's no need for that in terms of like your self-survival necessarily.
Yeah.
Like that's beautiful. That's what I think actual love is. Like,
amazing. What actual love is empathy?
I think so. Yeah, it must be, because it's the only time I think we're not sort of driving towards our own survival in some way. And obviously, you could probably get really cynical and be like, you're only being empathetic, so like but I don't think it's true. Like I don't think so, there's a deep, genuine thing you see in children, even, or like people that haven't. Like, there's like, we for some reason feel for others. We deeply, deeply feel for others, and that's nothing to do with us. And I think it's maybe the only emotion that is like entirely about someone else.
Yeah.
Empathy. Which is kind of selfish, because I want it. I want your empathy.
Give me your empathy.
Give me your empathy.
Give me your empathy. Okay, next question. This is one of mine. What's your favorite quality in yourself?
Oh, nice. My ability to comfort myself with not comfort, ability to what's the one exactly I'm trying to say? My ability to go to myself for advice and get a good answer.
Oh, nice.
Like if I'm struggling with something, I can always, if I focus enough, I can get to a point where like a kind voice, probably like my mum's voice actually, somewhere in there, goes, you're doing all right, just fucking, and will let me know. You know what I mean? Like I can get an answer. I can get an answer.
I think it's really bizarre. Like the body knows.
We know so much more than we allow ourselves.
It's like if you find that quiet place and you ask yourself that question, your body will tell you. It's amazing.
100%.
Yeah.
That mirror thing.
Yeah.
The mirror test, where if you're struggling with a decision or something, like morally or just logistically, even if you like look yourself in the eye in the mirror and ask it out loud, you'll fucking get the answer.
That's
like,
it.
Yeah. You can't hide from it.
You can't hide.
You can't. You know. Yeah. No, it's me.
Okay. Next question. If I opened your YouTube, Instagram, or TikTok account, what would be the first suggested video?
That's great.
That was one of Proust's.
Put it be like,
that's one of mine.
They just tapped in that guy. He's like, I've got a feeling they're gonna have.
Yeah.
YouTube would be end of watch funeral scene.
Okay, great.
Watched it last night.
End of watch
It was like fucking great.
Brilliant. Okay. What book would you reread?
Ooh, The Prophet by Khalil Gibran.
Great.
That's I always go back to that book.
I don't know about.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's one long poem.
Yeah.
You love it. Actually, you love it.
Sick. Yeah. If you weren't an actor, what career path would you like to give a shot at?
It's really rogue and off-brand.
Yeah.
But I think policeman.
Policeman.
It's really off-brand. It's really off-brand.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, no. Well, my dad was in the Met when I was a kid, so and he'd watch the bill and be like, "That's what I'll do in a model."
Brilliant. Okay. What's a line from a film that you'll remember forever?
I'll see you in another life when we're both cats.
I'll see you in another life when we're both cats.
Vanilla Sky.
Vanilla Sky.
Of course, my favorite film of all time.
Vanilla Sky.
The most underrated film of all time. It's the greatest love story ever. I swear to God.
It's so funny because I did rewatch it because I know you're obsessed with Vanilla Sky, and I rewatched it because you're obsessed with Vanilla Sky, and I was like. But to be fair, like I don't think it's a bad movie. I do think I think There's a there's a lot of good shit going on there. It's just partially, I think it's really poorly executed.
The funny thing is, like, this happens all the time. Like, I'll be like, oh, this guy's fair. I mean, people are like, maybe I missed something. And they'll go back and watch it, like, no, I didn't. It's not very good.
That's great.
No one thinks it's very good.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, to be fair, I watched when I was like 8 and it hit me at a very specific time.
Yeah.
But like, I just think in terms of love stories,
yeah. And I also think it's great. I think it's great to have a unique favorite movie, right?
yeah, it's not many people
It's
say
like
it from.
mine, you know.
What's yours?
Mine's like Pulp Fiction or something.
Okay,
It's up there.
okay,
Like, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I fell in love with Quentin Tarantino movies when I was a teenager. And I was
Yeah.
yeah, okay, I get it. I get filmmaking now. This is amazing.
Right.
This is what.
Yeah, he's a filmmaker for
Yeah.
sure. Yeah,
And like my first play was just basically a Quentin Tarantino. Like the first play that I wrote was basically like
wow.
a fucking Tarantino
Yeah,
movie.
man. I love what happens when you're a kid. You know, like I remember watching Fight Club, right?
Yeah.
I was like maybe like 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
And then going to school the next day, and like writing this long monologue of like internal, like fucking longing, like, you know, cynical fucking like.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that I was back in the back of my geography class just learning the I am Jack's ruptured
exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking about. I was like, yeah, exactly.
Okay. What's next? What's next? If in some mystical ceremony you were transformed into an animal, what would you be transformed into?
Ooh, like a panther.
A panther.
Love a bit of panther.
Nice.
Man. They're so hot.
Yeah. Brilliant.
They're hot.
Yeah. Tearing it up.
And they're like
boss.
independent and shit.
Boss,
Boss,
yeah.
boss, that's what I mean. They're like
Aloof, but also
super
the
aloof.
boss.
Based like actors, I think.
Yeah.
That's how I picture like a Joaquin or a Daniel Day. Panther.
Panther. Great. Okay, and then this is the last question of the set of 12. So in the Prowse Pivo Lipton questionnaire, my version, there's 12 questions.
Oh, great.
So the last question is, if upon your departure from this world, right, the whole world was listening, what would you like them to know?
It's all right. It's all right.
It's all right.
It's all right. Don't worry. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Like I'd love like pop out the other side and be like, oh, it's all right. You're good. Don't worry. Don't worry. You're good.
Lucas Jones.
Thank
you so much for being here with me. This has been this has gone better than I thought it was going to go. To be honest with you,
Hey, this has been lovely. This is hours, man. This is lovely. It's been lovely.
This has been absolutely
Honoured
beautiful.
to be
I could
the
not
guest
have done
first
this.
guest,
I could not have done this first episode without you. Thank you so much for being
so
here.
honoured, man. Thanks so much for having me. I love you.
Yeah, love you forever.
Love you forever. Oh my God. Oh my God.
And ever and ever and ever.
And ever and ever and ever.
If you're an actor and you are looking for a space to play and continue to work on your craft and your skills, then head over to theactorsyard.com and check out what we do. We'd love to hear from you.